Hey, what's up? Today, I'm going to walk you through some of the techniques I used to explore a comic style look for this project. Honestly, what I did isn't anything special. Basically, it's just stuff I used to do in 3ds Max, but this time in Blender. Alright, let's get started. Taking a look at this character model, this is made up of two meshes, the main model and the outline model. These two models are linked, so when you edit one, the other is automatically adjusted as well. The outline model is assigned a completely black material. Let's take a look at the modifiers. First, after rigging the model, I added a displace modifier to inflate the surface along the normal direction. To adjust the strength of this displacement, I set up a vertex group. If you check it in weight paint mode, it's easier to see. Areas where I wanted the lines to be thicker have higher weights, while areas for thinner lines have lower weights. When setting this up, I kept in mind how lines naturally get thicker or thinner as you draw, depending on the flow and pressure, something like that. For the ears, I wanted the tips of the outline to have a sharp silhouette, so I set higher weights only at the vertices on the tips. If you use the same weight value everywhere, the silhouette ends up looking rounded. After that, I added a geometry node to the outline model. What it does is actually quite simple, flipping normal. If you enable face orientation view, you can clearly see that the normals are flipped. While you could also flip the faces in edit mode, doing so would also flip the linked main model, which is not good, so I used a geometry node instead. Finally, in the material settings, I enabled backface culling under the camera option. This makes the flipped normals facing camera invisible. You know, it's a pretty standard way to create outlines. Let's talk about textures. When painting textures in Blender, I highly recommend using the UQ Paint extension. It's free. To enable it, just go to Edit, Preferences, Get Extensions, search for UCU Paint, and click the Install button. This extension lets you paint using layers, just like Photoshop. For example, this layer here is for hand-drawn lines. If I set this layer to mixed blend mode, basically it's normal blend mode in Photoshop, it shows up in black and white. And I can paint directly on just this layer. Once I'm done, I set this layer to multiply and blend it with the layer below. It makes editing so much easier. The layer underneath is the base color. It's just for simple color information like this. Of course, sometimes I forget to switch layers and end up drawing black lines on the color layer by mistake. Yeah, there might be some lines on this layer, but who cares? Alright, let's dive into the shading setup. Looking at the lights, the key light is pure red, and the rim light is pure green. So, when we look at the main model, with just a diffuse shader applied, the character looks like this. You can see the red color from the key light, and the green color from the rim light, which is shining from the side. Next, we're using Shader to RGB to convert the shader's information into color data. It just converts the data, so it doesn't change how it looks. Then, we use separate color to split the RGB channels. Let's start with the R channel. As you can see, it shows only shading, created by the red key light. The green rim light's information is no longer visible here. Switching to the G channel, this time we can see only the shading created by the green rim light, and the B channel is completely black because there's no blue light in the scene. For the R channel, I boosted the contrast using a color ramp. This allowed me to create a mask that separates the shaded areas from the lit areas. But that wasn't all. I also wanted to define areas that should always be shaded, like the folds in fabric or occluded areas. For this, I made a hand-drawn mask like this. By multiplying these two masks together, I ended up with this result. Using this, I mixed two textures, base color texture and a darker version of it. This is how I defined the shading. For the rim light, it was almost the same process. First, I took the blue channel and boosted the contrast using a color ramp. Then, I used that as a mask to mix the base color texture with a much brighter, slightly blue-tinted version of it. This is how I blended the rim light. And that's it for the explanation. You can download this scene for free using the link in the description below, so feel free to check it out. What I've shared today is a pretty basic technique, but I've got a few ideas to take it even further. Hopefully I'll have some time to come back to this project and explore those in the future. Thanks so much for your time.